Hello and welcome to Science and Curiosity. Today is December 29th. I hope you had a good Christmas this past week. Today we have a very special guest. We have the Vice President of the Atheist Community of Austin on the line, and he's going to be talking with us about the Atheist Community of Austin, what they do, how they do it, and really just about a lot of the things they have gotten into in the past here. So, Mr. Rhodes, thank you for joining me today.
No problem. Thanks for inviting me.
Now, I know you're the Vice President. Can you go into a little bit about what the ACA is and what it does?
Well, we were founded as kind of a conversation group a long time ago. It was back in 1996 that a young lady put a small ad on the back of a weekly newspaper here in town for atheist discussion group. And we met at a restaurant in downtown Austin that was pretty empty on Sunday mornings, and so that's when we met. And it was, for many of us, it was quite an eye-opener because at that time, this was pre-internet days, so most people that were atheists knew few, if any, other atheists at all. So we go into this bagel shop, and you'd find all these other people in there. So that's kind of how we got started.
Okay, and it seems like from what I was reading on your site that it grew pretty quickly.
Oh, it did. It compared to other groups, we had a little bit younger crowd and folks that were eager to do something. We had folks that had been visiting message boards and chatting it up with folks they disagreed with. And in our conversations about what we wanted to do, there were a number of things that we lined out, but one of them was let's start a TV show. Now, at that time, in cities all over the country, there was this option for cable access TV. Awful lot of religious or special interest groups were taking advantage of this. Basically, this was something that grew out of the cable companies being granted monopoly status in different municipalities. Part of the contract was create this free speech environment where people can go in, use a studio, and publish something on the air. So pretty quickly we came up with this atheist experience idea, and as opposed to what we'd seen before, which was talking heads, basically, we decided we'd do an interactive show where we'd have people would be allowed to call us on the phone, and we chatted up and actually let that drive the content of the show.
Yeah, that would be the Atheist Experience. That's probably one of my favorite YouTube channels at the moment. Not counting this one, of course.
Yes, we have. In addition to the show, there's a fan page that's got on Facebook that has thousands of members, and we have a slightly more official ACA page as well. And we'll get 100 or more emails a day, either people asking us a question, or hey, I saw this and I don't know how to explain it, or help me talk to my mom and dad about where I am in my process. Yes, it's grown since the internet and live streaming and all that has happened, and YouTube. It's now very much a worldwide phenomenon.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned that you had a lot of people coming in from the internet, a lot of people from the community. Now, you're in Texas, which is not really known for being the bastion of free thought.
We are in a special situation here because, yes, we're in Texas. Texas is very conservative, but we're in Austin, Texas. Also, for a number of years, the American Atheist Organization was headquartered here. So people in Austin are not particularly shocked to hear that somebody is an atheist. There were also a number of people who had volunteered down at the Madeline O'Hare's place. That a few of them knew each other. One fellow had a list of a few contacts that he provided, and so we had. It wasn't the same as trying to do this in Lubbock or a lot of other towns in Austin. Austin is a blue dot. It's a bit on the liberal side, and people here are very tolerant.
Good. So aside from the Atheist Experience, what other kind of outreach projects do you pursue?
Well, we had as far as just outreach, that's probably our biggest tool for reaching out and engaging people who are not atheists. For atheists, we have several other podcasts that are aimed at folks that pretty much already agree with us, and we'll just chat up the stuff that we find interesting. The one that's been around for the longest is nonprofits, and then we have Godless Bitches, which is a little bit newer and may focus a little bit more on atheism from a feminist angle.
Okay. In checking your site, I see you do a lecture series and you have the Bat Cruise. Can you describe those to me a little bit? What goes on for a lecture series? I'd
love to. We have tons of meetings. We have there's a Sunday morning brunch. It's kind of off and on, but we usually have a happy hour going on during the week. We have, of course, the show, and people come down to the studio and watch us do the show. Then we have a after-show dinner that public's welcome to join us for that. And then once a month we have a speaker series. The speaker comes, and usually it's something that would at least be interesting to a secular audience. It's kind of a good way for people to find out about us and see if they're comfortable sitting in the same room with us. But a lot of times it's somebody with a science topic. We're fortunate to have the University of Texas right here, so we've had some great talks about geology and astronomy and evolution. Sometimes it's more towards civil rights or separation of church and state, or somebody outlining their personal experiences. So that's one of the things we do, but that's a monthly. That's usually the first or second Sunday of the month, depending on the particular schedule we've got going. And we have a calendar that's up on our website, so people can stay in touch on that. Now, once a year, our big annual event is the Bat Cruise, and those of you that are familiar with Austin will know that Austin is home to the largest urban bat colony in the world, I believe. These are Mexican free-tailed bats, and they make their home for part of the year. The summer months, they leave as it starts getting colder. They go down to Mexico. These are Mexican free-tailed bats, and they live under the Congress Avenue Bridge. The way the bridge was built, it's got these little cavities underneath it. There's a lot of little hidden space, and they hide in there in huge numbers, and they come out at sunset and go eat mass quantities of insects. So we're very fond of our bats because they keep the skeeters and the other insects down. And one popular activity, if you're visiting Austin, is to watch the bats take off. They don't return in an organized fashion, but they leave in a more or less organized fashion. As the sun sets, it's almost like watching smoke drift up from a small fire. You get these curling ribbons of darkness that's made up of these tiny creatures weaving their way off to go hunting at night. So what ACA does is we rent, there's these big riverboat-looking things that do tour cruises, and we charter one, and we usually we'll get 150 or sometimes more than that people on board and spend several hours on the lake. We'll cruise up the lake and back down, and then the highlight of the evening is at the end when we sit there and there's canoes and all kinds of things in the water. People lining the railing of the bridge, watching these bats take off, and people take pictures. And to get that many secular folks on their own charter cruise is always people tend to enjoy that a lot. A lot of times we'll have a celebrity guest, and maybe they'll give a lecture earlier in the day, and then we take them out and go up down the river with them. It is a hoot. I heartily recommend if you're atheist friendly and you're in Austin in late September, you should make your reservation. It's not very expensive, and it's a load of fun. It really is.
Yeah, if I ever get over to Texas, I'll definitely have to check it out.
All right.
I think some of the speakers you've had, I know you've had P.Z. Myers, David Silverman, a few others there to be part of that bat cruise and to give talks during the cruise.
Yes, and PZ was particularly he was kind of special because he gave a talk on bat evolution that was very interesting. He brought up a lot of things that we didn't know about these bats and what special creatures bats are, and that was great. And then he was very generous with his time and made the cruise with us. It's very special.
To kind of get back to the atheist experience, one thing that every show begins with is they promote, or that the ACA promotes, positive atheism. Now, what is positive atheism?
Thank you for asking that. There is, one term of positive atheism is sort of synonymous with strong atheism, and of course that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about an atheism that is as opposed to negative atheism, where we don't want to. We're not trying to be mean. We're not trying to just vilify people that disagree with us. Many of us have family, friends, spouses, brothers and sisters that are not secular. We love those people. My wife is a Christian. Most of my extended family are believers of one sort or another. So I am part of what makes me comfortable with this group is we're not about bashing, although certainly it gets heated on the TV show. That's really not what the group is about. The group is about our fundamental goals of getting along with one another. We are strong about separation of church and state. And another aspect of positive atheism is we pretty much agree that the conclusion we've drawn, or the single fact of there not being a God, is not bad news. It's nothing to hang our heads about. It's actually good news. A natural world is a world that it's possible to understand. It's possible to impact in different ways. We're finding that out negatively with climate change, but there are things about living in a natural world that we find very positive. Another aspect is not only is there not a God, which in our culture that a God is typically something very, very positive, even to where it sometimes stretches logic a little bit. But the existence of supernatural creatures also extends to demons and devils and ghosts and all these other things. And we're pretty much agreed that that stuff is not very well supported either. So it appears we live in a natural world, and that's a good thing. Positive atheism means we're not afraid to get our hands dirty and do a little charity work, and we have empathy for fellow human beings. We want to be valued members of society. Many of us are veterans. We're not going for the social misfit type of atheist that I think was more common back in the past.
You mentioned veterans, so you're saying that there are atheists in foxholes?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course there are. Our president is a combat veteran and helicopter test pilot, and I would say she has nerves of steel. Matt is a Navy veteran. I'm a Navy veteran. We have lots of people that have served their country. I personally did not endure combat, but a number of us have.
Good. And do thank you for your service.
Well, thank you very much.
One of the questions I have here from a viewer, and I am kind of curious about it myself. Now, at the end of every episode of Atheist Experience, like you mentioned, you do have a meetup at one of the local restaurants, and you sit down, eat, you invite anybody who is atheist or atheist friendly. How do those conversations go? Do you usually have a lot of religious people come in to take part, or?
Occasionally,
Yeah.
occasionally, and part of that is a testament to Austin and the character of some of these Christians they're willing to we're not that scary, so they'll come out and have a conversation. But that's actually kind of rare. Most of the people that show up for these things are in the category of fans.
Okay. When you do have someone who is particularly religious, or they're maybe aggressively religious, how do you handle them?
We just haven't had that much problem. They understand the rules. If they come to one of our gatherings, they're going to be outnumbered, and they can believe whatever they want, but if they're going to try to disrupt an event, then we'll ask them to leave politely, and then we can escalate. But that is just extremely rare. We've been very well treated by our fellow citizens here in Austin. We are not getting abused at all.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I was kind of curious. With everything you do there now, of course, I'm more familiar with it from the show. Is there anything you really want to talk about that goes on aside from what I've already spoken with the lectures, the Bat Cruise, the Atheist Experience podcast, and all that?
Well, I suppose most people are going to find us through this show, and that's our most prominent activity right now. And it's doing a lot of good. It's helping people. We get tons of email all the time, every day, from people who say, I was struggling with this, and I watched you guys on YouTube a little bit, and so yeah, I get it now. I understand this, or I've got it all, but just this one part. And people ask us for advice on the funniest, most mundane, nothing to do with atheism. What kind of cars do you like? What's your favorite video game? And just asking our opinions on all kinds of stuff. It gets a little silly sometimes, but it's I got to say, the people that are doing the show, and they put a lot of work into it, are having a blast. It really is a lot of fun. Another kind of coexistent part of what's going on here is it really is therapeutic for people who, from time to time, it really feels like atheism is unpopular, that people feel like they can't trust atheists. People will assume that you're religious and try to lead you in prayer or do different things that may not be very comfortable. It's really therapeutic to sit down face to face and break bread with folks who do agree, who understand, who are offended by the same things, and at the same time they get the same jokes. Uh, so that's a lot of what we're about too. The fact that we can get together for brunch or dinner after the show. Often at those meetings, the religious debates don't even come up. It's more just chatting about what's going on in each other's lives.
Yeah, there is an important part that I found when you are no longer religious, especially if you're from a religious background, but I don't think it's unique to that. That as you leave the church or as you're no longer involved in a lot of community things, you end up losing part of that social dynamic, the community of being able to go out and talk with people. And that's one of the things that I feel is kind of a failing in the current atheist community, and that's why one of the things I like about the atheist community, Austin, the American Humanist Association is changing that too.
Oh, I'll give you a big old amen on that. The religious communities have really kind of showed us what is possible with a social organization, and we have a long ways to go to catch up. There are lots of efforts underway. We have made some what I think are important strides, but we have, we just have a long way to go to get to the level of social interaction, support, and community that we see from in Austin alone from probably 1,000 different religious organizations. So we have a lot of work to do.
One of the questions I have here now, and I think we had kind of already talked about this, maybe we can go into more detail. Now we have the Humanists of West Florida here, and one of the issues we're running into is, of course, getting membership. And the question is, what were some of the challenges you had trying to grow the group and keep it sustainable?
Well, we've not worked really hard just to grow the membership. Mm-hmm. We want a lot of people involved. We want to have a lot of people that are exposed to our message and able to interact with us, able to feel welcome at our activities. But we charge money for membership, and we realize that that a lot of people are just going to turn away at that, even if they agree with our aims and purposes and the work of the group. So we have, we'll try to get people. We'll do like mailers to people that are former members, reach out to them, maybe give somebody a call. But as far as a broad outreach to try to get new members, we really haven't worked that hard at that, and we don't feel like we haven't felt the need. We want people to know about us. We want people to know we're here, to hopefully remember our website, atheist-community.org, so that they can, if they say, gosh, I need to ask an atheist a question, or I'd like to go to a meetup because I'm feeling a little all alone here, they can easily plug in at a moment's notice and take care of that.
Now, this is kind of more of a question from myself. Being involved over the last couple of years, I've seen that there's been quite a lot of issues that have faced the atheist community at large. There's issues with sexism. There's been recent issues people have said about online atheism. Is there anything that you're aware of or anything you'd like to say about that?
Well, I suppose I'll just go ahead and stick my neck out here that our group has, we understand, we see this happening for the as far as the whole free thought blogs, Elevator Gate, and all that. we're kind of in general. I'm sure there's some people in the group that would disagree, but we are very feminist friendly. Um, we are a group that's always had strong feminists. Our founder was a woman. We've always had gay members. So we are tending to fall a little bit on the uh, not so much Thunderfoot and a little more PZ Myers side of that debate. I don't know of anybody in the group that participates actively in the Atheism Plus forum. I know that there were some issues with Matt there. I took a look at it, and it wasn't something that drew me in that I wanted to spend a lot of time there. But the basic idea of feminism, fairness, tolerance, those are things that appeal to us. Granted, that's not the same thing as atheism, but it seems to be that our group is pretty friendly with that kind of philosophy.
Okay. Kind of a continuation to that earlier question I have. Another question, have you ever tried using radio advertising, or have you restricted online media, or is it mostly through the show?
I would say it's mostly through the show. We had 1 month of a billboard ad. We have a Coalition of Reason, and it really didn't add a lot. We partly because it just wasn't controversial at all. I mean, really at all. We had just a few calls about it, and when the American Atheist Convention was here, I guess it'll be 2 years ago in April. They had a number of billboards up. I never saw a news article about it. There was just, it just doesn't create the buzz that it does in a more conservative community. No, we haven't tried radio ads. We have had newspaper ads, and they help a little bit. But by far, it's the show. It's people seeing us on YouTube, people hearing about us on the web, things like that draw people in.
Okay. Yeah, we've been having some issues trying to get this would be the Humanist West Florida, trying to get a billboard set up with the companies around here.
Ah, okay.
This is Pensacola, Florida.
So the more controversial it is, the more resistance you get. That translates into publicity.
Yes.
I hate to say that you sit back. It sounds like you sit back waiting for somebody to vandalize your billboard, but whatever pushback you get, whether it's that or an angry sermon from a local preacher that gets covered somewhere, that this translates into gets mentioned more often. There's back and forth. People get excited about it, and suddenly you've got people calling in wanting to join. So I wish you luck.
Yeah, and I was kind of curious. I noticed that you mentioned positive atheism. Now, there's a lot of different groups now as atheism becomes more like socially acceptable. We have the American Humanist Association, American Atheists, these different groups. Now, some people are kind of worried about us splitting up too much, that we're dividing into too many different groups, that it shouldn't matter if it's humanist, freethinker, whatever. We should all join under one name or one banner. Do you see this as a problem? I mean, from my perspective, I'm a member of many different groups. I don't necessarily see it as a problem in that sense.
I have friends that take that road, and I really don't. I mean, as far as we all have to call ourselves the same thing. I do know that we have a local CFI group here, and there's a lot of bleed over. There's a lot of those folks attend our events. Some of our folks attend their events. However, there's just a little bit different tone about the CFI meetings as opposed to the ACA meetings. And I suspect that's true in a lot of things. I mean, American Atheist has a different tone, a different color about it when you compare it with American Humanist Association. I like them both. There's things I really like about the AHA. I like them a lot. I especially, when you're dealing with issues of subtlety and tone and things like that, AHA is very good at that. They appeal to me in their own way. Our local CFI group, they spend a lot more time talking about science issues and books and things like that. There's a place for that. Golly, that's wonderful. That's great. Because of the path a lot of people took to ACA, there's probably more of an emphasis on apologetics and just on religion. But I think everybody there would be happy to call themselves a skeptic. So there's certainly there's all kinds of labels we can put on ourselves. I just hate to get into that deal over agnosticism. That just seems to get out of control right away. But yeah, I think as people can agree and call themselves different things and style their own lack of belief however they want. That's fine with me.
Okay. One of the things I do want to ask you too, now you've kind of gone into with how you approach religious people coming to your after the show meetings, coming out to lecture series and all. Now, this channel that this show is on is hosted by a New Covenant group, and they're focused on bringing together atheists and theists. I know a lot of people have different views on how that would work and if that would work. What's your view on that? Do you think it's possible? Do you think there's just too much of a divide between, kind of like too much of a political divide between the two groups?
Well, that is a challenge. I commend you guys for the courage to take it on. It certainly is a challenge. For most of the folks that I know that are religious, they cut me some slack, and there's some things that we don't talk about, and that's how we go forward. I work with some people that are very religious. We don't close the door at the office and argue the problem of evil. When I go donate blood or something like that, it doesn't matter to me what the person in the next chair believes. Now, when you it seems to me that a good way to start the bringing people together is just being able to have that conversation where we can openly discuss some of the things that separate us and figure out, okay, well, what do you think about this, and why do you feel that way? What is convincing you that, what's the evidence? What did it feel like when you started? What changed your opinion? And I think that the atheist experience is one venue where people can have those conversations. And many of those conversations have been painful, but I think that's helpful in the long run. And even though it sounds like we're totally divided there, I think a lot of folks will tell you, yeah, it does. It helps us understand each other. Because most of the folks in our group, yeah, we understand what it's like to grow up and go to church, and pray, and all the different things that religious people do. Many religious people have no idea what it is to think like an atheist, and so I think that exposure is important. And of course, we all want to live together. So I think that's certainly a noble goal that you guys are espousing there.
Well, we're kind of getting to the end of the show here, so I want to ask one quick question, which might fill up the rest of our time. Now, you've already mentioned the issue with building community, but are there any other criticisms that you have about the way atheism as a whole, I'm, with all the different versions that there are, but as a whole, how atheism it acts inside the U.S. and how you think it could be better or do better?
Oh my gosh, there are lots of little peeves. Uh, One is we are, as a group, rather argumentative, and this you
No, we're
can
not.
you can if you see a news story on CNN on the CNN online that touches anywhere near religion, and go to the comment section, you'll see a battle being waged, and our people will be in there, and they will be fighting the good fight. I would, I suppose that's important in its way, but to me, that's, I'd like to see people, uh, stand up for their positions, but do it in a way that's, let's not be hateful. Let's just disagree and take it from there. Let's do the things that our community needs. Let's volunteer. Let's help kids out. Donate a little blood. Things like that. And then, we're atheists. It's not a big deal. I'd like to see more. I can't complain too much about the level of people being willing to volunteer, but I do at times wish is more. Uh, I do wish that there are a lot of things about atheists that are kind of double-edged. We have atheists are very high in what I would call intellectual honesty. So there's questions that you really shouldn't ask an atheist unless you want the right answer, and sometimes that can lead to uncomfortable moments in conversation. But by and large, I really like this group of people. Comfortable hanging out with them, whatever they call themselves, and I'd like to see them grow. I think the best thing for us and for the intersection of religion and non-religion is for atheists to not feel like they're a persecuted minority, and to be included, to have politicians court our vote, and charities court our donations, and our opinions to be considered and debated, and in public forums, without atheists feeling like they need to walk around with a chip on their shoulder all the time. I think that's going to help as atheism gets more mainstream. I think there will be some natural chemistry to our development that will help the situation you guys are working on.
That was great. All right, well, we're at the end of the show here, and you've already plugged the website and the podcast, and the TV show probably doesn't need a plug. Is there anything else you want to kind of plug here at the end of it?
I'm delighted to be a founding member of the atheist community of Austin. I am very grateful for the folks that have helped us out, and for the community of Austin that has been so kind, so friendly to us, including the Christians. The Christians in Austin have been great to us. We have many Christian fans here in town and around the country. So I am just delighted to have been a part of its development.
Excellent. And I do think that Christians don't necessarily get enough credit. We tend to focus on the Westboro types more than the ones who are actually kind of working with us on a lot of projects. So glad to hear that. Well,
And Websparrows, they're kind of easy to.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for being on the show today. Really appreciate it. I think it was a pretty good show. What do you guys think? Got a lot of stuff. Okay, great. All right, and just a reminder, this show will be up on YouTube probably within the hour. Anybody listening, if somehow you've heard of this show and not heard of the Atheist Experience or the nonprofits or any of the other programs, you really should go and check it out. Despite some of the reputation of some of the hosts, it's actually a very theist-friendly show from what I've seen. But that is the end of the show. I do appreciate everybody for tuning in. Again, Mr. Rose, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. You have a great day.
You bet. You too.